Now, how did I transition from modeling to the next step? Okay, so before I became a buyer, that's a long story, but there was a woman who I love since dearly. Her name was Evelyn Cunningham. Evelyn Cunningham was the editor, the women's, not the women's editor. Boom, she'd be mad at me right now if I said that. She was the city editor, or she was the top editor, maybe the editor in chief of a newspaper, the Pittsburgh Courier, and they had a part of it was in New York City. And so Evelyn came up to me. She approached me one day. She says, Audrey, people think I'm the women's editor, but I'm not. She said, and they need a commentator to do a fashion show. And she said, you can get $50. Well, wow. I'm only getting 15 as a model, and I got to bring my own clothes. So, I took that on. That was a challenge. Let me go for that. If she thinks I can do that. Meanwhile, I have never done this. But if she said I could do it, I said, I can do that. So I took my mother with me so my mother would, watch what I was doing because she was a good critic. And my mother said, don't say, don't lick your lips. Don't say, and don't read those cards because the girls used to come out and give you a card to tell you what they had on. And they would say the card would say a red dress, and they'd have on a green dress. They gave me the wrong card. So that's how I got started doing commentary without a card because they never gave me the right card. So why look at a card when you can see what somebody has on and just talk about it? Make up stuff. What do you care? Make something funny out of it. So I did that for a while. And then I needed a job because I left Wall Street. Oh, there was in the newspaper. There was an ad in the Times, I think. Bloomingdale's, they're looking for a model salesperson. So I took that on. And I was going to model robes. Well, they liked me a lot. They had to make those robes 8 inches longer. They really liked me. So I had about 4 or 5 robes. I changed robes all day. And I'd go to the 3rd floor escalator, tell people about my robe. They'd ask me about my robe. I didn't have to tell them. I'd turn around for them. And then I would sell the robe. Wherever they would like that robe, I'd go sell the robe to them. Because I was on the 2nd floor, the 1st floor, and the 3rd floor. I'd run it all over the store. Well, everybody got to notice me. So somebody said, oh, you should take this exam at Bloomingdale's because they're trying out for junior executives. So what the heck, I'll take the exam. So I took the exam because I was only there for Christmas help. It was Christmas help. So I took the exam, and just before Christmas help was fired, this woman came down looking for Audrey Smaltz, Smaltz. Her name was Miss Scudder. So she says, I want to see this woman named Audrey Smaltz because she took the exam. And the lady said, that's her. Oh, no, that can't possibly be her. No, that's Audrey Smaltz. So Miss Scudder says, I want her. She comes over to my desk where I am. And she says, oh, Audrey, I'd like to see you up in my office. And I go up in our office. Oh, my gosh, it's the 7th floor. I've never been up in this private office. Oh, it was beyond chic. And she says, you did very well on that exam. I said, oh, thank you. Well, we don't usually hire people that, they were trying to say they didn't want to hire me. Oh, yeah, the hours are long. It's very difficult to work. Oh, she didn't say anything good about this job. I said, I want it. She said nothing good about the job. And I knew what was going on. I wasn't, by this time I was 20 some odd years old. I know the deal. I said, I want this job because I didn't have a job. I think my mother told me it was time for me to get a job. I was still living at home. I was 26 years old. My mother said, please get a job. Oh, keep one. I could get them, but I never kept them. So anyway, they said they would hire me. But they didn't hire me right away on that executive training. No, they didn't. They put me on the flying squad. So the flying squad was the best salespeople in Bloomingdale. So there were 20 of us. So I went on that flying squad. I was brand new. And the lady liked me a lot, which meant we went to work in all of the best departments when the departments were making money. Whenever there was a sale, there we were. And I got to know Bloomingdale's inside out. I mean, I know Bloomingdale's because we worked all over the store. And so one day, I used to take off a lot. You know, young people take off a lot now, and I know why, because I used to call in sick. I had diarrhea. I was always an excuse. So this day I had taken off, and I shouldn't have been off. I was in D.C. with my boyfriend. I was at the Shoreham Hotel. I walk to the Shoreham Hotel. I make a left turn, and that's where the Sundries store is. And who's in the Sundries store but Miss Scudder, the same lady who didn't want me to take on that job, who gave me yet another job, lesser than the job that I want. And before she could say to me, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Miss Scudder, surprised to see you here. What are you doing here?" Because, see, I knew I was wrong. You know, when you're wrong, you got to own up to being wrong, or you get that other person because they wrong too. Do you know within a week I was on executive training squad? I wonder why. That's being at the right place at the right time, darling. This has happened to me my entire life. I seem to know where to be at the right time. I wish I could give that to people, where to be and how to be, because I've got it. Even now, I still have it. I know how to, you have to, that's what life is. You got to know to, it's a little dance. And you got to know how to dance with that dance, girl. Just keep dancing, honey. You'll get there. So that's how I got on executive training squad. So then I became the second black on training squad. The first black was Willette Klausner. And she and I are still the best of friends to this day. Willette and I are still the best of friends. She was the first black. I was the second black. You know how that goes in those days. You're the first. Anyway. And then I got my brother-in-law in there. He became the third black. That's how I became a buyer. But it took a long time to become a buyer, because before you become a buyer, you have to become an assistant buyer. So after training squad, they asked me what did I want, and I wanted to be a fashion coordinator. Why? It sounded fabulous. Fashion coordinator, that's what I want to be. So the woman that I was working for, she said, "Oh, no problem. I'll just call so-and-so and you'll become that because you were so good for me during Christmas holidays." So you have to be outstanding in what you do, and you have to really work hard. I mean, I don't work hard now. I work easy. But when you're coming along, you have to be 300, 400, 500%, not 100%. You have to be on top of it, over it, above it. I mean, right target. You have to target right. That's how you get there. But meanwhile, I don't even know I'm doing all of this. I'm just doing it. And so I got that job. And who do I work for? None other than Doris Salinger, J.D. Salinger's sister. Yes, I did. I'm one of the few people that spoke to him over the phone. I didn't get to see him, but he would talk to me over the phone. Yes, he did. Yes, I'll tell you, the right place at the right time. So how did I get that job? So I go to interview with Mrs. Salinger, and she says, "And Audrey, why do you want to be a fashion coordinator?" I said, "Because I have not a clue what a fashion coordinator does, and I want to learn." She said, "That's the best answer I've ever had, because everybody come in here and tell me, da. You don't know?" She said, "Guess what? I don't know either." She said, "I don't know what we do either." She was fabulous. So she gave me my first assignment to pick out 2 shades of beige and 2 shades of pink. She was looking for the right shade of beige and the right shade of pink. And would I please come back and bring her a whole storyboard of beiges and pinks? That was my first assignment. So I went right to the paint shop, and I got all the shades of beige and pinks I needed. And I didn't have to go anyplace else. You go right to the paint store, right? That's how you find the colors you want, is in a paint store. And it was terrific. She picked out what she wanted. I was hired. So that was that. Then I got tired of that job. Oh no, another job opened up to be an assistant buyer for coats and suits. I worked for Bruce Morrison, and he and I still keep in touch. I stayed with him, and I was his only assistant, and I was the only woman on that coat and suit 3rd floor. Honey, Bloomingdale only had boys and men. But baby, I could roll a rack better than it. I could get those clothes. I can get those suits out on the floor before anybody, because I was in with everybody I had. Whoever was taking care of the ticketing, whoever was receiving, they were all my friends. Well, I knew how to ticket. I knew how to receive. I knew how to do all the paperwork. I knew how to make tags. I used to know how to do everything so I could get my suits out of there. The suits coming in, they're going to be on the floor in an hour, so I could sell them. So it was a lot of fun. So I stayed there. Then somebody said, Audrey, there's a job for Lane Bryant. We heard about you. So I said, oh, I don't think I can take on that job because my boss is away. And they said, oh, but you gotta go for this interview. It's Lane Bryant. It's tall girls. And oh, I'm tall. Oh, well, that sounds nice. So the young lady said, I'll take care of your department for you. You're only going for an hour. I said, you sure you'll take care? I had 3 departments. I was a nervous wreck. So I go for the interview. I'm dripping in designer clothes because I worked for Bloomingdale, only wear designer clothes. So I go talk to Mr. George Paley at Lane Bryant Talls. He hired me immediately. So he said, well, first of all, you can't wear designer clothes anymore. I looked at it. He said, no, you got to wear our clothes. So, oh, my gosh. He said, well, I'm going to give you $135 a week. What? $135 a week? So 5 days a week? I don't have to work late nights? I don't have to work early Monday mornings? He said, no, I don't have to work 6 days? I have to give you 2-week notice. I have to tell my boss that I'll be back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever. I'll be back. I want this job. So that's what I became, another assistant buyer model. Assistant buyer model. I didn't get to be a buyer until, here's another time. Timing is everything. Timing and being at the right place. It's so important in life. So what happened, I'm the assistant buyer, not coats and suits, dresses. House dresses. You remember house dresses? No, you're too young. Dresses and house dresses. You know, women used to wear house dresses. They'd come home and put on a house dress and do housework. Don't ask me why. But anyway, we sold plenty house dresses. And so at that time, from stockings went to pantyhose. This is major. This is 1964, 65. Women are no longer wearing stockings with garter belts. They're wearing pantyhose. And so I told my boss, you know what? Pantyhose is in right now, and you need to give me the pantyhose department because, see, there was no such thing as a pantyhose department. Oh, I should do something. What have you got to lose? I'm going to start a whole new department. I became the pantyhose buyer. We sold pantyhose to the kazoo. And then I said to one of my manufacturers, I said, can't you make pantyhose that don't run? You know, these pantyhose run. They run all the time. He said, Audrey, you want to keep a job, don't you? You want pantyhose to run so the ladies go out and buy more. I said, oh, taught me a lesson right there. Of course I want pantyhose to run. So I kept that job, and then next thing I got dresses, and and then I decided I wanted to be a fashion coordinator because I was already an assistant at Bloomingdale's, and I can be the coordinator over here. And I convinced them that they needed a fashion coordinator for Talls. And I traveled all over the United States for Lane Bryant, putting on fashion shows. See, things that I know how to do. I would just keep parlaying that job over, and they would keep thinking it was something brand new. I just made it look brand new. So now you're all the way up. Then I got married. Okay. That's how I became a buyer. Wow, I was the hosiery buyer. They didn't call it pantyhose, hosiery. Not stockings. Hosiery is the hosiery department. And it's not the pocketbook department, it's the handbag department. You know how people say pocketbook's my pocket? No, darling, you have a handbag.